All right, welcome into the Gator Report where we talk everything Gators football. Today we have Coach Goodspeed after the victory against Nature Coast last night. Congratulations.
Thank you. And after a long break from the hurricane.
Yes, it's been a lot of has happened since the last time we talked.
A very interesting past couple of weeks. So yes, and it's good to see you.
So since we haven't met since the Mitchell game, that was another hard-fought game.
Yep.
Big scoring game, a lot of yards, a lot of stats, were put up that game. Before we get into last night, is there anything that comes to mind about that game that,
Well, yeah. Obviously, Mitchell's a great opponent and always has been. I was really proud of our offense coming off because, we were able to move the Mitchell's defense around a lot from stuff they don't traditionally do. And I think we put up almost like 550 yards. Unfortunately, the one stat that does matter is that win-loss. We weren't able to finish that game or get the win, but we were starting to roll a little bit more on offense, and I think it was important for the guys to see that. And it just came over to a couple turnovers in a bad spot, shooting ourselves in the foot like it's been happening. But again, you can't make those critical mistakes at critical times.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of been the story when you're playing good football teams. You got to be on everything. That one mistake is going to be, highlighted, and sure enough, it was. So frustrating for the boys. And then all of a sudden we go into this long break, with the hurricane. Now, I was really proud of our boys because, we all stayed in communication with each other and talked about if we ever need something, and all the families kind of worked together. I know after the storm had passed, everybody was safe. So that's really good. Minimal amounts of damage for most of our families. And I think they're, on the mend and moving forward with any damage that happened. But then the boys were out in the community trying to help out. So that's a really good sign of what we're trying to do. And I was really grateful to them. I know Amy and myself and the kids went out and helped a little bit in our neighborhood, and then we started spreading generators around. And so a lot of good things that happened to our small community that was bad, but then we responded well. So I was very grateful for the boys for that, and I think they're doing the right thing on that. Unfortunately, then our schedule gets flipped around. The FHSA didn't know how they wanted to handle it. We were getting ready to play the Butter Bowl on that Monday, which isn't ideal. It's and I've said it before, it's a great game for Sun Lake and Land O'Lakes just in our community because of the turnout and the fun of that game. But so then they flipped it to November 7th, which will be our last home game now.
And that's a Thursday?
It's a Thursday night. So again, not totally ideal because you want those on the Friday night, but a Thursday night will take. I like it. It'll be a fun one to have everybody out and kind of be able to do all the things we wanted to do for that game, because when it got backed up from a Friday and then we had the long week off and then we're going to play this on Monday, it was going to be kind of hurried. So our senior night's going to be on that night.
Okay.
All the Butter Bowl fanfare will be that night. The shirts for the students and all the things that go into it. So I was thankful that the FHSA made that deal to push it back. They had already built in a bye week into the playoff system, and they just took that out and said, we'll just push those games over. Now, there was a lot of shuffling beforehand because all the schools, we don't know what's going on. We want to get all these games in. Now, for us, we want to make sure we get all the games in, to help with the early part of the season and see if our strength of schedule will be good enough if we can, do some good things in the second half to get into the playoffs, which this whole experiment goes in. We've been playing much tougher teams than we have in the past. Now, does that make you better when you're playing into the playoffs? Well, you got to get there. But, my first year when we won the district and got into the playoffs, we faced, a Tarpon team that was definitely rebuilding. And I think at the time it was a running clock before halftime. And then we weren't prepared to go into play Winter Haven, right into the playoffs. So now with a tougher schedule, the idea is, hey, we play these tougher teams, showcase our athletes. You got to be, on top of it, coaching and get your boys in the best position. And then hopefully that pays dividends when you get into the playoffs, that you can actually do something in the playoffs. Unfortunately, you got to get to the playoffs first. So that's what we're hoping for.
Do you have any idea? I know this is a tough question. You might, maybe nobody knows the answer, but where do you have to be ranked, or where, can we monitor like how close we are?
You can. It's some kind of mythical, magical number that nobody knows. Seriously, nobody really knows it. It went off max preps, and then they changed a couple things here, so we don't really know because they don't really give the coaches the formula to say this is how you should schedule your teams. Do points matter for and against? They do. No, they don't. Yes, they do. And it goes kind of back and forth. So we do our best to monitor that, but at the end of the day, there is no formula given to us to say this is what you need to do. So we built a strength of schedule that is competitive. And the thing for what I like about it is because it challenges you as a coach to build the right schemes to get us in the best position to play those games, because sometimes we don't match up, right? But the boys have played to their talent level or beyond, and to stay in a lot of these games. And I think that shows growth in what we're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think anybody would argue with that. So we know that the district winner is guaranteed a playoff spot.
Correct, yep.
And then beyond that, we'll just have to wait and see.
We just got to do whatever we can to make sure we have the best record that we can have to finish out strong.
Okay. So prior to last night's game, the team was ranked 38th in the state for 6A.
Yep.
I would assume that ranking goes up after
right.
night.
So an interesting thing had happened this year. So as we were hitting our struggles, if you want to call that, in the first half of the season, or just running into good football teams, they were ranked higher than us. Even a loss would keep moving us up a little bit. Then it kind of panned out as we got to the middle part of the season. So obviously now we'd be back on that uptrend. Right. How far that takes us, I don't know, because you kind of absorb some of the wins from Nature Coast, and then the point spread that we've had against the other teams.
Okay.
And then they plug it into the mythical formula.
Right.
And then they figure something out.
Sticking with the stats. So I know last night's stats are not included in this, but some of our key players. So TJ had a monster game last night. Obviously,
absolutely phenomenal.
I think the county rushing record, single game rushing record, is like 7. So he had 6, right?
He had 6 touchdowns,
6 TDs, in a game. I think he's ranked prior to last night 9th in 6A, right?
Now, when you say 6A, that's just not here in Pasco.
Right.
That's all the state of Florida.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. And after last night, monster game, I expect that might tick up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we took some time with the hurricane and stuff to kind of dive into the stats part of the thing. We can't do a full analytical breakdown like the college or the pro teams do. We just don't have the time for it or the manpower.
Right.
But we can take the basics of it and kind of put things together on it.
Yeah.
So Anthony and I kind of took this dive as what is it? Is our starting field position from special teams? Is it the defense isn't getting off the field on 3rd down, or they're giving too much on 1st down? Are we not coming out in what I call the green zone when you're coming out? Are we not doing our job in the freewheeling between the 25s? Are we not finishing drives in the red zone? You kind of look at all that stuff. Are we not being efficient with the run game? Are we running too much? Are we passing too much? All those kind of go into it. I really took a hard look at the stats, and it's interesting that you say, TJ was ranked 9th, I think, currently last night. I think he'll be bumped up to 4th, which is phenomenal. Right.
And it's because of we didn't have as many games.
Right. Well, we were behind games because of our bye, and some teams are on bye this week. So if you look at the stat line, I think it'll be something like 4th or 5th, which is great for him. Chance Houston was at I think 13th. 15th, and then
15 in passing, and I think 19 in total yards.
Yes, and so then he'll be moving up. Not a huge throwing night for us last night, but he threw the ball well when it counted. And then Clemente, who's been who's our top receiver, he moves up. I think he was 8th, so he'll move up a little bit. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Josh has 3 interceptions, and that put him at number 4, number 5 in interceptions.
Right.
And then
Volstead
has 50, I believe it was, tackles.
58 tackles.
Yeah, 58 tackles.
Put him at 30th. Then once the other teams have their bye, and he had a pretty monstrous night last night.
Absolutely,
too.
he's having a great year.
Yeah,
great kid, great year. So you kind of look at that now. Those stats matter to a point. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm an O-line guy, so I want to make sure our quarterback stays upright. I think we've given up maybe 6 sacks this year, maybe less. But you want that rushing title. And it's funny, I was actually watching, as soon as I have to watch the film when we get home, when I get home from the night. And there was a point where we're pass protecting, and Chance is just back there all day. And we're just, and I almost wanted to yell a little bit because we had a guy who stopped rushing, and then he kind of came around, and we still had the football, so then he ran, and I'm like, why are we stopping to block it? Well, I mean, he had the ball for maybe 5 seconds. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So the line's doing a really good job. And I think that, before we move on to that, it's part of the pride of an offensive line to keep your quarterback up and have that rushing strength to have those many yards and keeping your guy chugging down the field.
Yeah.
So a lot of good stats with that. So then you keep diving into it. And, right now offensively we're averaging, I think it was 344 yards a game, total offense, which is a pretty good number. And you kind of look into those stats and say, what's the problem? Are we not, finishing in the red zone? What's going on with it? And we spoke about this before, but, even the year we won the district, we were at 275, 280 yards per game, but we scored 0.5 more points a game. So where's the difference in that? Now, obviously, our defense was very stout that year. Well, we're not as stout, but doing a great job for us. I mean, I think a big thing on that game last night was our defense came up big to keep them to a field goal. We knew where they're going to move the ball on us, but keep them to a field goal because that gained us a possession. So you're diving in all of that and trying to figure out. But I think really to move into last night was what came together for me is across the board up front, our line played phenomenally, just amazing. Looking at Brendan Thompson playing the guard position last night is how you play it. I mean, there's teaching tape on there, how he pass set it, how he pulled, how he blocked. And you could say that I call them the Bash Brothers right now because, there are 2 guards who are just running and hammering people. And it's exciting to see because, if you want to be a good offense, you got to have athletic guards.
Yeah.
And we have those athletic guards that are freeing us up.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Well, you mentioned the pride of the offensive line is keeping the quarterback upright, but, you also got a guy that had 6 rushing touchdowns and put up a tremendous amount of yards. That O-line is responsible, for the success of your running back and your running game just as much as keeping the quarterback upright.
No question. I mean, they were opening holes, and I mean, we probably gave up a lot of size against Nature Coast. I mean, you can see it from the press box. They have big dudes over there. And our guys just played physical and got after them and moved them off the line of scrimmage. This is one of the first times that you could really see a difference where we were getting push and playing on their side of the line of scrimmage. And it was consistent. It was over every play, and we were hitting, and we just kept chugging down the field. And, and I know TJ recognizes them. I mean, he's the one doing the hard work carrying the football and getting there and making moves and getting hit and all that stuff. But, I mean, he recognizes his offensive line all the time and celebrates with him. It's always funny when you pull all the way through the film. He's the first guy, flip the ball to the ref like he's done it before and then go over high-five his offensive line and get excited. So it was a really complete game for our offense. Like I had mentioned before, I wanted to throw a little bit more against their coverage, but it didn't really call for it because we were managing trying to play complementary football with the defense and make sure that we didn't score too fast and then they drove down the field every time and scored too fast, and we want to keep it balanced like we did against Mineola. I think that's why we had a lot of success against Mineola because we played for each other. But when it was time to throw the ball, Chance did a great job with it. And, we protected the football last night, and, and it showed at the end of the night. So a lot of good things.
I've been told before, if it's, the old saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And another coach once told me, I'm going to run the play until they can stop it. If it's working, there's no need to get fancy. If it's working, I'm going to keep pounding it until I'm going to force
until
them
they
to stop
change.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the chess match you play. We do a couple RPOs that have worked well for us in the past couple games, and they were taking that away and saying, okay, let's see if you can run it against us.
Yeah.
And the line answered.
So in the first quarter, it was like, I believe, not having reviewed the tape, but I believe in the first quarter, it was 21, or it was at least 14-14. Yeah, at the end of the first quarter, 14-14. So you're talking about 4 scores in one quarter. It was a shootout. Everybody, no punts. I don't think there was a punt until the third quarter.
Yep.
So time of possession and running the football was good strategy there.
And that's you go to analytics, and that's something that needs to be looked at in the offseason, our time of possession.
Yeah.
Because I think the best games that we've been in, we've helped the defense by moving down, but actually punching the score, but actually controlling that time of possession.
Yeah. So in the first quarter, there were no penalties. I don't know if there were any penalties I think there were maybe a couple in the second quarter, but first quarter, we got through the whole first quarter, no punts, no penalties. Clock was, moving.
The game felt fast.
The game felt fast for sure. How do you think you guys did overall from a penalty standpoint? We talk about playing smart. And
we did better on it. Unfortunately, we took a bad penalty when we decided to, the safety cheated over and we wanted to get in front of him and put him in a conflict. And, Chance made a nice read and bonded up to Clemente. Touchdown called back. We were just misaligned.
Yeah.
I think maybe we had one holding call, if I remember. And other than that, it was a pretty clean game for us. Defensively, we're going to play physical.
Yep.
We're going to play physical.
Yep.
I'm not going to coach him any different, and I know Hendricks won't coach him any different.
Yeah.
So the one where we hit a defenseless receiver, I don't know. I mean, he was going after the football, so were we. I don't know. Connor had a couple big hits last night that really sparked our sidelines.
Yeah, the second half got aggressive. I mean, there was some big.
We
could hear the pads hitting up in the press box for sure. I think
we didn't back down from it.
Right.
I mean, they have size.
Yeah.
We don't have a ton of size.
Right.
And our guys just said, all right, we're going to play. We're going to hit.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, you take those aggressive penalties all day long. You just don't want those pre-snap penalties. You don't want the silly mistakes, right? And so
we did have a couple offsides on defense, but we had one a personal. It was one of our guys protecting another guy. Again, they were on a pile and he's pulling off the guys. What do you want him to do? He sees it, so.
Yeah.
I thought our penalty management was good. I mean, obviously you don't want to take any, but the one that kills you was that touchdown one. But we came back, and I think we actually finished the drive with a touchdown. So we got there one way or another.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Special teams,
better.
6 for 6 on the extra points. That's
It's really nice to see what Ian has started from the beginning of the season, and he's progressed through this season.
Well, it's not.
We put him in a tough position at River Ridge to kick a 45-yarder or something that. Right. Now on the practice field, he's stroking them right now. Now, does he make that same one in the practice field and the game field? I don't know. Sure, like to find out.
Well,
but he's gotten consistent on his extra points and when we call him to do his job.
And I would argue that any struggles earlier in the season, not necessarily Ian's. There's 3 parts to that, right?
Absolutely,
you got to snap it, you got to hold it, and you got to kick it.
Yep.
So we struggled a little bit on those other 2 parts of the play in the past, and this time last night, everything went well.
The special teams operation, we call it, it was very good with the snap, the hold, and the kick.
Yeah.
So really good job by those 3 in the protection for it. Dean's been punting the ball well for us all season, And
Yeah, dropped one inside of 5 last night.
It was really nice, helped us out. Yeah. So, we started talking on the sideline, should we fake it? I said, no, let's punt it and see if we can pin them.
Yeah.
And then we got a running into the kicker. And so we came to a 4th and 5, 4th and 4 situation on our first and only punt.
Yeah.
And, we had them pinned down on the 3 or whatever it was at the time. And I said, well, let's just take that field position right now.
Yeah.
Let's see if they can move the football. And I think it paid off because during that drive, then they fumbled it, and we were right back down the field.
It did. Yeah, I think that was a good call. So we talked about special teams. We talked a lot about the offense and penalties. TJ's monster performance.
Absolutely.
Chance managing the game well.
He did a really good job. And
not turning over.
And he's growing up into a leadership role, which you kind of see the transformation a little bit. He's starting to take command of the huddle. A lot of good things coming from him.
Clemente wasn't as, we didn't see as many balls to him as we normally see. We didn't see as many passes that we normally see, but we did see 22 show up last night.
Yeah, it's good to have him ready to go, healthy, set up. For receivers, it's the catches. What catches did we make?
Yeah.
But what really stood out to me on film for him was him setting up his corner. Making sure that he was running and blocking into him, and then setting him up and stemming him, and then all of a sudden came back on that dig route and wide open. We made it, Chance threw a strike, and then he probably, I don't know how many yards he finished up with, but he had a nice catch and run after it. Both those guys, they've been playing well, but it's nice to see him healthy and running around and having fun. And, the biggest difference from that night was in the previous couple, where, hey, get me the ball and I'll score, get me the ball. No, they're like, what do we need to do to help this offense go? And they did the hard work and blocking and running their routes to get the other guy open.
Right.
You saw that on the one down by the goal line where we ran the slants. I mean, Clemente ran it hard to get Chance open, and the linebacker had to tear him down to the ground. And they took a holding on a receiver, and then we marched us closer to the end zone. So a lot of unselfish play on our offense last night, and it was awesome to see the feeling. They were encouraging each other in the huddle. I think we grew as a team last night.
I think that's one of the hardest things to teach is the off-ball discipline of setting up the defense and doing those blocking.
Yeah, and he did a great job with it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and for our parents and things in the field, all the eyes are watching the ball and where the play is, right? Yep. But this off-ball stuff is so very important, and guys don't get credit for it when they do it right, and it's so hard to teach them to do it right.
Yeah, because you want to be in the spotlight, but I mean, and we try to sell them the dream on it and saying, like, once you do this and you set your guy up, it's going to help you, second quarter, the third drive, or whatever it is. And I think it really paid off. That was wide open on the dig.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anything on the defensive side of the ball?
You look at it as a stat performance, not great. You look at a scoreboard performance, not great. But we probably give up about 5,000 pounds to their offensive line, which, we committed, Coach Hendricks committed a lot of, the resources to stopping the run, because that's been their MO for years.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, you open up some things behind everything.
Yeah. But
we couldn't sit there and line up toe-to-toe and say, hey, we're going to stop the run with 4 guys. No, we're going to have to commit guys to it. And I told Hendricks, because he was kind of frustrated at it, and I said, no, the thing that you did was we played, that football, that complementary football. I said, they received the ball in the first half. And we were knotted up 21-21, right? So they still had a possession on us, and they held them to that field goal. And so that's when I came into the locker room at halftime and said, listen, the defense did what they needed to do. Offense did what we need to do, keep it 0-0 and only give them on their extra possession 3 points.
Yep.
Now, when we go out, we need to go down and score a touchdown on our extra possession and start changing the balance of this football game.
Yeah.
And they responded, went down and scored. I think the next drive we punted, and then we got the ball back and scored. So I think we punted once, and then we had the unfortunate fumble in the end zone, supposedly. And I feel bad for Austin because it looked like he crossed the plane to me, and it should have been a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't think you can fumble once you cross the plane. But,
yes.
you know, I'm kind of new at this. So.
Yeah, I don't know. But you hate to see it because he's been working hard, and that was, you know, they made a great play where, you know, Austin just played off of Chance, and he wheeled up, and, you know, Chance put a nice ball on him.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I forget what you call it, sudden changes.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the character of how a football team can be defined is how they react during sudden changes.
Yeah.
So they get the ball on the touchback, 1st and 10 from the 20, and another turnover. You guys get the ball back right away.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing that, if anything, isn't the question in this football team, the heart and character of it. Well, they've done, and I told them in the end zone for my speech at the end of the game that, you know, it's frustrating for me as a coach, it's frustrating for them, but as a guy who's played football for so long and then coached it, to feel like you're doing everything right on the practice field, getting so close in games, and then just, you know, stripping it away from you in the last second. And I told the guys, I said, I feel for you, but this is the reason right here that we've went through all that trouble and hardship, right, to get to this feeling that you have here, because no one's given up. No one said, okay, I'm good with it, we're 1-5. No, they say we're going to keep, you know, chopping it down and going.
Yeah.
So when we get in those situations where there's a turnover, you know, hey, we'll be fine. We'll figure it out. And they went out and got rewarded for it. So a lot of good things.
Yeah, I can definitely see where they've been in so many close games and come out just on the wrong side, that they're not as a, you know, the overall team mentality is we can't let this one slip away.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Anyway, so anything else on last night before we move into next week?
But it was fun. The boys, I mean, took the game plan and executed. A lot of great things from the offensive line. Defense got it done when we needed to get it done. Special teams much better, and, you know, we were rewarded with that win. And it was nice to see the boys excited and run over to the band and listen to our alma mater and fight song, and then the general just excitement. So, you know, we'll enjoy it for 24 hours. And, you know, we actually got to sit in the office as coaches and be like, finally, they feel it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then we'll move on to Wiregrass.
So Wiregrass next week at Wiregrass.
At Wiregrass, yep.
Looked at them a little bit of their season, not counting last night, but looks like a pretty balanced team. They got 23 touchdowns, 10 passing, 13 rushing. Their total yards, 805 in the air, 737 on the ground. Yep. So pretty balanced team, not too much unlike Lando.
Yeah, like you said, they're very balanced. You know, they have a lot of, you know, good athletes across the board. So obviously it'll be a challenge, but we've had a lot of challenges this season. So we'll just come to work on Tuesday or Monday when we watch the film and start putting the starts of the game plan in, and go from there and see what the boys want to execute.
Great. Well, you know, of course, we'll be there supporting and wishing you lots of luck. Again, as always, I appreciate you doing this and kind of, you know, giving us a little bit of insight and analysis to what you see, and a lot of stats this week, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, we dove into it, so it's something nice to, you know, talk about. You're just trying to find those right wrinkles to see what is actually when you dig into it. So But no, I love doing it, and I'm glad you're a part of it. And you know, you guys did a great job in the press box again last night, and it's always good to hear your voice up there.
It was fun. It's always fun when we have these real close games at home. I guess we got just the Butter Bowl is the last home game that we have.
Yep, that's it. So we'll be on the road the next 2 weeks, Wiregrass, Chapel, and then home to finish out the regular season.
There you go. Well, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you.